Okay, everybody, welcome back to the metric system. You're going to notice already on my page are our prefixes. How do I remember the prefixes? King Henry died, base, drinking chocolate milk. The unit is always your base. Totally didn't mean to do that. Your unit is always your base, and then deci, centi, milli. So kilo, hecto, deca, unit, deci, centi, milli is how you will have me say it. Remember, the base can be any number of things. It could be a meter. It could be a liter. It could be a gram. Those will be the main ones that we will be focusing on here. So prefixes always remain the same. The unit or what you're measuring changes. If I'm measuring length, I use meters. If I'm measuring liquid, I use liters. If I'm measuring, sorry, I think I said meter was weight. Meter is distance. The gram is the weight. So if anyone's stepping on a scale, we're going to get that into grams of some sort. So here's how we're going to do this. This is the easier way to do it, okay? You can use straight multiplying and dividing, but we're going to use the chart to think about what's happening. So let's say that my teacher said that we're going to start off using meters, and he's going to ask, or she, 3 meters. Meter can also just be written as an M, and your teacher is going to want you to convert that and tell me how many centimeters could that be. And centimeters, just so we get used to it, could be a cm, okay? So if I had 3 meters, I would be thinking of that as my base or my unit. So I'm thinking that I'm here, all right? I'm going to, for now, just put an X there because I think that's easiest to think about. And now I want to think about what happens as I move in different directions on the chart. Now you're going to remember I said that as we go to the right, my units get smaller, but that means that in a meter, there's going to be a lot more decimeters, centimeters, and millimeters because I am chopping up that meter into small little pieces. So these are like fractions. I'm taking something big and I'm chopping it up. So anytime I move to the right, even though my unit gets smaller, the numbers are going to get bigger, okay? Numbers get bigger, and this will be on a conversion chart that you've seen. So what I want to talk about is every time I move one location. So if I'm here in the middle at my base, and I just want to go one location next door, that's the deci place, okay? If I think of it like place value, every time I move, I get 10 times different. So these are getting 10 times smaller, the units are getting smaller, but the numbers will get bigger, so I'm multiplying times 10. If I go next door to centi, that's another 10 times smaller, but my number gets bigger. And if I go to milli, that's another 10 times smaller. So if we think about what we saw on our chart yesterday, you saw me writing things like 1/10, then 1/100th, and then 1,000. Well, that makes sense because when I did times 10, he's just on the bottom. 10 times 10 gives me 100, and another 10 gives me 1,000, okay? So anytime I move to the right on my chart, my numbers get bigger, so I am always multiplying. Now, we do this a lot in math. Anytime I move to the left, my units get bigger, but my number gets smaller because I have something like a meter and a kilometer is bigger than it. So now I need all of these things in order to make just one of those. So if I move the other direction, this is where every time I hop, I'm actually dividing by 10. My number will appear to be getting smaller, even though my unit of measure is getting larger. So this is the same thing where if I started off, the deca was my 10 because I've only gone one place over. The hecto is my 100 because I've gone 2 places over. And the kilo was my 1,000 because then I've gone 3 places over, okay? All right, I'm going to move this down just a little bit and we're going to do our problem. We're going to focus now on the conversion. So the first thing that you do is you find out where's the thing that you know. I know that my 3 is in the meters. That's here in the center. So you'll see that I'll actually put my 3 there. Now, if I need to move to the centimeters, I'm going to be thinking in my head, that means I need to move over to the decimeter, then over to the centimeter section. If I'm multiplying times 10, 3 times 10 makes 30, and 30 times 10 makes 300. Now let's think of another way that we could have done that, okay? So I could have just taken 3 times 100 and I would have gotten 300 for centimeters. But I can also do this. If you think about where your number is, I'm in the middle column. That's why I'm writing the 3 where he is. And I need to think, is there a decimal in this number? Every single whole number has a decimal at the end. Now, just like a minute ago when I did those hops are going to mean something. Guess what? They're going to mean how many times I move my decimal point. If I'm moving to the right on my chart, my decimal point goes to the right. This way I don't have to think about units are smaller, but the numbers are bigger. I'm going to move in the direction that I need to. So I started on the meter. Decimeter was 1 hop. Centimeter was 2 hops. So now I go to my number and I start here and I'm going to go 2 hops. We all know that my decimal point is now at the end and I fill in with zeros. Same answer of 300, okay? I'm going to erase some things and we're going to do a little bit more. So now let's go ahead and talk about a couple more examples. Sometimes you're going to see that you will need to go to the left, and sometimes you will see that you need to go to the right. So we just follow our chart. We're still going to use meters. I think that's the easiest thing to stick with today. This time I'm going to start you off with 5 meters, and I'm going to ask you to turn that into how many kilometers? Well, I need to look at my chart. I've put my meters, the number that I know, in the place where he belongs, which was my base. Now I need to say, how will I get to the kilometer? Well, I'm going to move from the meter to the deca is 1, hecto is 2, kilo was 3. That's 3 hops, 3 place values, 3 tens to the left. That's going to make my number smaller. So remember, that decimal point is always at the end of the number if I don't show it to you. So now I'm going to do 3 hops. First hop takes it just to the other side. Second hop opens up, and the third hop opens up from there. My new decimal point is here, and I fill in with 2 zeros. So if I had 5 meters, that's just 5 meter sticks. That means that I would have 5 thousandths of a kilometer, because I haven't gone very far if I'm comparing it to almost like a mile. All right? So you always move in the direction of the chart that you are going if you put your number where it started. Let's do one more, but I'm going to show you this one. I'm going to do a couple more than one, but I'm going to show you this one. My eraser is being really weird right now. I'm going to show you this one starting off as a kilometer. Now let's say this time I gave you 10 kilometers. 10 km might be what my page says, and my teacher wants to know, how many meters is that? Well, I'm going to follow the same process. I start wherever I am, and I have my decimal point at the end of the number, and now I have to first count how many places, how many values of 10 will I be moving. Well, I know I will need to move from the kilo to the hecto, the deca, and then the unit. Unit is its place, okay? I've counted 3 hops, so that means I now need to move my decimal that same 3. 1, 2, 3. These are getting filled in with zeros, so that looks like I would have 10,000 meters. All right, let's do one more to see if you are keeping up with me. This time I'm going to start you off with something on the smaller end. I'm going to tell you that we're going to have 125 centimeters. So 125 centimeters equals how many? Let's go to millimeters first. That's mm. And then I'm going to go from 125 centimeters and we're going to go to meters. So I can show you how we can do the same number 2 different times. Let's do the first one. Centimeters turning into millimeters. Well, I'm going to put my pen down on my chart, and I'm going to say centimeters is where I am, millimeters is only one hop over. I find my decimal point. If I don't see it, he's at the end. When I move it only one hop, it just adds a 0, so I would have 1,250 millimeters. Let's do this now with centimeters, so I can leave my number where it is. 125 was in the centimeters, but I wanted to go to meters. Well, let's see. I'm in the centimeter box. I would have to go to the decimeter, then the meter. That's 2 hops. 2 hops to the left. Let's find our decimal point. There's not one on the number, so he's there because that's the ones place. And I need to go 2 hops left. Once and twice. My decimal is now in between the 1 and the 2. So 125 centimeters would be 1.25. I want you guys to try it out this way. There are other ways to do it using your chart. If you're having trouble, make sure you watch the video again to see how I am moving my decimal point. I move to the right if my new place is to the right. I move to the left if my new place is to the left. Let me know if you have questions. You can always send me a message through Seesaw, and we can figure it out. If you need other videos or other help, just